Okay, everybody, this is Sheets, and this is going to be, I guess, degenerate video number 2, because degenerate video number 1 was just going over the just the Oaklawn, the Arkansas Derby, which is, it's going to be the big thing. It might be on ESPN, and on a normal Saturday like this, the Arkansas Derby wouldn't be that big a deal. It would just be a just a normal prep race for the Kentucky Derby, but with so little going on. They're probably making a much bigger deal out of this. So I am going to do a separate video just on that race. But for those of you who are really interested in doing this, this is actually going to be a full, not a full, but a semi-full recap of the entire Oaklawn Park card, because there are some decent bets here. And this is going to be probably just for people who bet horses anyway. So if you're getting on this video and all you want to do is bet the Arkansas Derby, I refer you to the shorter video that's just going to be on the Arkansas Derby itself, which is just 2 races. But for those of you who do bet horses, I'm going to go over there is some really, really good value today. And the reason why is, it's a huge day. A lot of people are betting it, so you're going to get a lot of bad money. And the race, there's a lot of really big races, meaning a lot of horses in them. So it's a lot of variance, and that type of situation usually tends to favor the skilled player. So there is going to be quite a bit of value today. So we'll try to go over that. Now, again, this is still about an hour and 45 minutes before post time. So, all these odds can change, and there actually might be scratches as well. So that's something to keep in mind. And just so you know, I am using Express Bet here to do my wagering and to do my analysis, just to kind of show you. If you did want to open up your own account on Express Bet, we actually do have a promo code for you, which is TrueDFS, TrueDFS. I mean, there are other places you can bet too, but this is just the one that I've used for quite a long time. So if you did want to just kind of get in there and bet today or whenever, I mean, you could just go ahead and do that. So there's 14 races today at Oaklawn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just highlight the races that I think we do have value, and just kind of breeze through it. I'm not going to go over really the analysis, but I'm just going to just give you my picks. All right. So this is, again, degenerate, video number 2. And maybe another video will be how I go about actually making picks, but that's, I think, for another day. So the first race here at Oaklawn, they're actually, I think there's a full 1, 2, 3, maybe 7 horses that can all win. The 1 and the 3, which are 2 of the 2 favorites, Timely Tradition and Miss Imperial, they're both fine, but the value here is going to be in the 9 and the 10, AP Princess and True Castle. Without getting too far into it, I think these horses have just as good of a chance to win as some of these others. And don't let this 99-1 thing fool you. That's just what they put up there this early. I mean, if you get 10-1 on either or both of these, I think they're both really, really good values. That's in the first race. In the second race, there's literally no value at all. Almost all of these horses are first-time starters, and it's just really impossible to figure out what to do here. And if you had to, I would say just take the 1 and the 13, as those are the 2 horses that have run. But it's just really a gamble. I really wouldn't bet this race at all. The only reason I would bet this race is if I maybe would go all. In other words, if I really liked these horses, again, in the first race that I said, 10, 9, and 10, and I want to do a pick 3 maybe with races 1, 2, and 3, or a pick 4 with 1, 2, 3, and 4, then I maybe would go all. But it's usually bad gambling to do that, just to kind of dilute a good opinion with a bad one. So I wouldn't do anything here in the second race, really. In the third race, I actually do think that there, once again, are a couple of really decent plays here, not the least of which is the 1, Bankman, at 12-1. I think is a really, really strong value. Now, there are other horses that can win here. Captain Don looks really good, but it's just not as good of a price as Bankman, with about the same chances to win. And then, honestly, there's the 3, 4, 5, 6, even 12 and 13. There are a lot of horses here that could win, but Bankman at 12-1 is, to me, a really, really good price. In the fourth race, if this is your type of thing, I think the 2 chalks are very, very solid here. Major Attraction, the 7, and the 11, Bank. So hey, if you want to do a daily double with Bank Man in the third race, with Bank in the fourth race, that could be something you can tell your grandchildren about. But I don't think there's anything really long here. But I do think both these favorites are very strong. Major Attraction and Bank. Okay, seems to be good value in the fifth race as well. The fifth race, I think there are four horses that I think have a good shot, which is Kershaw, the 7, 235, the 8, and then again, two favorites, Endorsed and Pirates Punch. But I think these two, Kershaw and 235, which is the 7 and the 8, both are very strong value. And you're dealing with one of them is at 20-1, the other is 8-1. So if you wanted to take a shot, either of these two or both of them are really good. Sixth race, to me, there is just kind of a lock favorite here. Now, okay, so the 14 Divine Armor, I think, is really strong. The only thing that could keep in his way is defend, again, that he is on the far outside. So when you're on the far outside, like the 14 post, especially in a mile and eighth race when you're going 2 full turns, you run the risk of losing ground on both turns. So that's going to impact your ability to perform. So that said, if you can avoid those types of issues, it's a really strong bet here. I mean, I don't think it's going to go up at 7-2. I think it's going to be lower. And then you have to kind of make that decision of how low do you want to go on it. But I think it's really strong. And even if it does end up wide, one turn, maybe even both turns, still could win. So I think that Divine Armor is very strong favorite here. All right. Next race, and I feel like I'm doing a slate review in the NBA. Race 7 is just terrible. I think there's really bad bets here. The 3 favorites are fine. The 8, 10, and 13. Gamine, Speech, and Ain't No Elmers, but I think none of them are worth betting, so I would completely pass this race. The 8th race, I do think there's actually a pretty good wild card here. So I do have like 5 horses that I think have a chance. There's Wild Poppet from Moreau. That's 2, 5, 6 Caribbean, 10 Moretti, and then this 11 horse Defender. So this 11 at 20-1, I think, is a really good value. Also, that other one I mentioned, Wild Poppet, at 10-1 is fine, but I do think that Defender is going to be the clear value in this race. Now, when I say value, I just mean that it's, that they're going to outrun their odds. It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to win, but that's all we're doing in gambling and DFS and horses and whatever. Just trying to make good EV bets. And if Defender is over 20-1 or even close to it, I think it's a very solid long run bet. All right, the 9th race. I have an idea here as well. I mean, I think that the 3 is okay chalk at 3-1, but I think that Lord Guinness, the 8 at 15-1, I think is a very strong play. I think it wins more than 1 out of 15 times if you wanted to bet to win. And if you wanted to play exactas with the 3 and the 8, if you weren't that confident, you didn't have that type of risk profile. If you wanted to play an exacta with 3-8 or box the 3-8, I think that's very good. But big Lord Guinness, the 8 at 15-1 is a strong play. 10th race is not that exciting. Do you even want to get into it? I mean, not really. I mean, if you had to. I mean, look, I'll tell you what I like. Ginobili, the 2 is an okay favorite. Rushy, the 11, okay favorite. And then there's 12 and 14, which are okay. Background and Kaddish. And I think the Background at 15-1 is if I had to, and I think I am doing a tournament here today. ExpressBet runs these tournaments from time to time. I might end up playing Background in the tournament. It's fine. It's not as good as some of these other 15-1s, but I definitely think that if I had to pick the best value here, I would say that would be it. All right, so race 11 is the first of the Arkansas Derbies, and this is a couple of things you need to know about this. Charlatan at even money, that's just not going to be the case. I mean, Charlatan is going to be about 1-2. meaning if you bet $2 and you win, you get back 3. The even money is a joke. This horse is clearly the most likely winner. They're going to pound it. It's going to be an incredibly big favorite, and it certainly is the most likely winner. I am not going to. I'm not going to bet it. The one horse that I would say is the good value to, and again, I don't know what these horses are going to go off, but if you want someone to beat this thing, there are 2 horses that have a chance. One, I think, this Governor Morris, the 4, who is looking at 9-2 morning line. I think that everybody's going to be long. I think that Charlatan is going to go off at 1, maybe 1-2, or even 2-5, and you'll be able to get 10-1 on pretty much everybody else. So I think Governor Morris is fine as the second one. But I think that I also think that a lot of bettors might try to bet on somebody else also, just to make kind of a second choice out of this. So I worry that Governor Morris might be overbet also. But as far as the horses I would give a chance to beat this one, I would say Governor Morris, and then also maybe a real maybe Shoot the 6. It really is not a race you're supposed to be betting, if you want to know the truth. So that's the analysis of that first leg of the Arkansas Derby. But again, nothing exciting. What is exciting actually is race 12, which is the second division of the. Oh, actually, no, this is not the second division of the Arkansas Derby, but we'll get to that in a second. Race 12 is just actually a really, really good race. But I'll just tell you who I like. So there's 1, 2, 3. There's really 5 or 6 horses that can win. You have the 4 Mr. Freeze. You have the Combatant, the 7, 4-1. You have the 9 Tactus, 9-2 is okay. 11 is a little worse at 15-1 though. 12 is fine at 9-2, but the real strong looking horse, this 14, is Improbable. As a matter of fact, you want to really, if you want my partner kind of like Skype me about this, and I agree with him. I mean, I don't know if you can get Breeders' Cup odds on horses now. I mean, you can get like 50-1 on something like this. This Improbable is a really, really strong horse. Now it's got issues. It's got the 14 hole, which means it's going to lose ground. It's not like these other horses are bad, but Improbable is a very, very just strong long-term horse, and it's got a really good chance to win today. I think it's I would definitely make it the most likely winner at 8-1. So the problem is, again, he's going to be wide, which makes things difficult. So I would play Improbable, and I guess my second one would be Mr. Freeze. So 14 and 4. The 13th race, I think, is the second leg of the Arkansas Derby, right? Yeah, okay. So honestly, it's going to depend on the odds, because I think that almost everybody has a chance. The 3, the 4, the 5. All right, you want one, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think they can all win. So I think if you want to take a shot, maybe Silver Prospector would be okay. Farmington Road might be okay. Even this Fast Enough is all right. Tyshawn. And again, I don't usually think this way. It just happens to be the way the results might distribute in this race. I just think there are a lot of even horses here. So I think at Silver Prospector probably be where I would try, but it's okay. Let me just look really, really quickly again, just to see if there's any real standout there. Wells Bayou is good. Farmington Road, Tyshawn. I mean, they're all fine. Fast Enough. Sort of Prospector. I mean, honestly, all the horses I mentioned can win. King Guillermo 3-1 is a pretty good favorite. I would just watch the odds and see if any of these things really end up long, and then try it. And again, I hate to do this, I mean, because everybody's keeping their eye on these 2 races, these big races. But the fact is that neither of them are that great value, if you want the truth. Gotta, kids say, keep it real, right? And unfortunately, the 14th race is really bad. So if you were still betting, if you're still hanging around for this last race, I would say the 1, 4, 5, 9 are all fine. I guess the 9 at 10-1 would be okay. But none of these this is not the greatest betting race in the world either. So overall, if you were going to, it's definitely a much better card for the professional horse player to bet on outside of the Oaklawn, the main Arkansas Derby. Because what happens is, and this is what happens all the time, it's kind of like poker when you have the scoop or these big events where everybody goes and plays. Everything else goes in those everything else becomes really, really juicy also. And that's what happens on these big days in horse racing is that while the big race is, people bet a shitload on that, the real value is in all the other races. That's usually the way it works. So hope you guys take advantage of this and play some of these things. Hopefully they win, or hopefully at least you get a sweat. And I guess that's it.